And then, of course, now comes COVID. Okay. And you have to appreciate right now in America, there's almost 4 million. There's 3,898,694 documented cases of COVID virus. Deaths in the United States as of this morning were 143,289. Okay. And all this is totally unnecessary. And I knew this as soon as it came out, and I looked up COVID virus in October of last year. And when a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 15-year-old gets the COVID infection, pharmacist Keith, they might get a fever for 3 or 4 days of 100 degrees, right? Barely be registered as a fever. And it's over with. They get minor common cold-like symptoms. When a 20 to 30-year-old get it, they might get a fever of 102, 103. They might have some stuff going on. And they'll put them in the hospital for a couple of weeks because that's what doctors do. And very few die. And then you get into the 30s and 40s. We're talking about millennials. They're a little more susceptible to serious life-threatening stuff. And you get into the 60s, 70s, and 80s, have a very high rate of serious complications and death. So what's the difference between a 73-year-old and a 3-year-old? Why does a 3-year-old only get common cold-like symptoms and a 73-year-old dies? Okay, well, that's because a 73-year-old has been eating gluten for 73 years. Now, gluten damage to your intestines is not an all or nothing thing. It's not a light switch on, light switch off. It's one of those things where it's a drip, 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 drip thing. And so you can be eating gluten for 20 years. You might get eczema. Okay, you might get a little rash, that kind of stuff. Let's see, that kind of thing. And then when you look at it, let's say you're 50 years old now, you could have 50, 60, 70% of your intestines damaged, and you still really don't have any real serious things. You might get diagnosed with things like irritable bowel syndrome, celiac disease, diverticulitis, that kind of stuff, Crohn's disease. And a doctor will put you on some, you're a pharmacist, they'll put you on some steroids, anti-inflammatory stuff to calm your intestines down. And most of them, if they really know what they're doing, they'll put them on what kind of diet? A gluten-free diet. Okay, when they have all these bowel issues and they calm things down. But if they don't get on a gluten-free diet and they're still eating gluten, it keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse. By the time they're 73 years old, they have 95 to 98% of their intestines damaged, less than 3% absorption efficiency. And now we got big problems. And here's the deal. When you look at the cause of death, I went through and looked at literally thousands of autopsies here, okay, online. Thank God for that. I don't have to run around looking at bloody bodies anymore. And so I'm looking at all these autopsies that have been reported, 10 here, 20 here, 3 here. And the cause of death of these people is not a viral pneumonia. The cause of death in most cases is either the pre-existing conditions, okay, such as diabetes, obesity. It could be, let's see here, they can also throw in hemorrhaging. I think 40% die from hemorrhage. Well, why is that? Well, one of the things that comes along early in a COVID infection is something called, let's see here, let's see, I got it written down here. Oh, thrombocytic cytopenia, which means that their bone marrow is not making any platelets, or very few. And so they begin to get, I got a bloody nose, I have bleeding gums. Oh, I'll send you to the dentist. No, it's a bone marrow thing, okay? And then they're anemic, and so they get injections of B12 and iron shots, and they'll give them transfusions, okay? And then they don't have any white blood cells, and so there's nothing there to defend them against the COVID virus now. Well, when they're 3 years old, there's none of that happening yet. And so their bone marrow sends out the white blood cells to kill and eat the viruses. Their stem cells in their bone marrow, now we're talking about 3-year-olds now, their stem cells make antibodies to kill the virus. And then they're making lots of platelets. They don't have any bleeding. Okay, and so all this is going on here. And so I finally found it. I found what I was looking for. Okay. What happens when somebody comes to a doctor and they've got COVID? They've got every possible complication of COVID except death Okay, they are in trouble. And he says, okay, you've got some celiac disease here in diverticulitis, so I'm going to put you on steroids. Okay, and I'm going to put you on a gluten-free diet. And these people will never die. The ones who are not put on a gluten-free diet will die from either hemorrhaging, okay, or their pre-existing conditions, obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, kidney failure, that kind of stuff. But they don't die of a viral lung infection. And so what I've been doing, I said this in October of last year, that take people off of gluten, get them on the 90 essential nutrients, give their bone marrow everything it needs to make white blood cells, okay, antibodies, platelets, red blood cells, and we're good to go. And so this is what's happening now. Now it's being reported that people, they say, we don't know why. I love it when they say, we don't know why. But people with a chronic history of celiac disease or irritable bowel syndrome, they don't seem to die when they have a COVID infection. And of course, they're not paying attention because these people are on a steroid to lower the inflammation of the intestines. They're also on a gluten-free diet, so their intestines can absorb nutrients. And the ones who are supplementing on top of the gluten-free diet, okay, are the ones who are surviving and doing well. There's no reason why somebody with COVID-19, there's no reason why they can't live to be 120, as long as they're gluten-free and they're taking the 90 essential nutrients. All of these pre-existing conditions are nutritional deficiencies. And they're telling you the reason why these aren't genetic, although doctors say, oh, your diabetes is genetic. No, it's just simple nutritional deficiency. High blood pressure is not genetic. Kidney failure is not genetic. Liver cirrhosis is not genetic. Things like psoriasis is another feature of a celiac disease because you can't absorb the nutrients necessary to prevent it. Oh, you got lupus. It's an autoimmune disease, which is just fibromyalgia, which is a simple nutritional deficiency disease with another nutrient deficiency. So they get this little rash on their face, okay? They get the little rash on their face and they say, oh, you got lupus. No, you get them on a gluten-free diet, get them on the 90, and all that goes away and they'll live to be 120. They will not die, okay? So that's the news. I'm very excited about that. And so we need to get this information out there to everybody. Whether you've been diagnosed with IBS or Crohn's disease or celiac disease or not, get gluten-free, get on the 90 essential nutrients. I like the big hammer out of our toolbox, the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack. Go ahead and take one of those per 100 pounds of body weight, throw in some extra MSM, vitamin D3, and some collagen or glucogel and/or the collagen peptides. And if you don't have any other issues, you're going to be a happy camper and you're going to live a long time. You will not die from COVID-19.
Wow, that's some powerful information, Dr. Wally. So you've been doing some comparison of some of the studies coming out of the lesser known studies coming out of China, from what I understand.
That's right. And of course, when you look at it, and people, and I said this back in October of last year, because Wuhan province, that's where it all kind of started. And I said they had to be eating gluten. They said, that's just China, they're rice eaters. I said, no. Wuhan, there's a lot of Western people go there. There's a lot of stuff going on from the West, and so they provide food there. Well, it turns out that their biggest grain crop is wheat for export, for financing, and cities where there's a lot of Europeans and North Americans go there for business or university classes or training or something, or just tourism. They have all this wheat stuff, and there's a certain percentage of the Chinese population that, well, I like wheat. Now you look at the people who have the highest percentage of death rate. Okay, this was right away. This was in January of this year. The Italians, 10%. The average in the world is less than 4%, kind of like 3.8%. Italy was 10% because everything they eat was gluten, spaghetti, noodles, mustaccioli, pizza crust. Okay, their beer, their scotch, their bourbon, their rye whiskey, everything is made from wheat, barley, rye, and oats, right? And then you take Germany, their neighbor right next door to them, they have the lowest rate of COVID death, 0.5%. because their source of carbohydrates is potatoes. You ever hear of German potato salad? Potatoes, baked potatoes, potato salad, mashed potatoes, corn, and rice. Okay, wheat is a very small thing for the Germans, and their rate of death is 0.5%. Uh, uh, so I knew right away in January of this year what it was, but nobody would believe me, and so now just the information accumulates, and people do the obvious research, and here we have it. It's documenting everything I began to share in October and November of 2019. And so I'm very, very excited about this and would really urge everybody to get a hold of the what we call the quartet of books. Let's Play Doctor, Let's Play Herbal Doctor, Passport Aromatherapy, and the fourth one, which made the quartet of books. It's all in your head, covers 25 different diseases is caused by osteoporosis of the skull. When you have osteoporosis all over, your bone marrow cannot do what it's supposed to do, make the white blood cells, which are the cavalry and the Marines that go out and kill and eat the viruses, right? Can't make the platelets to prevent you from bleeding. Can't make the red blood cells, so you're anemic, and they have to give you transfusions every month, plus B12 and iron shots every month, okay? Because you can't absorb those things if you take them orally, so they got to give it to you by injection. And it's genetic. No, it's very simple nutritional deficiency disease caused by malabsorption. And of course, I just get very, very excited about this because I appreciate you, Pharmacist Keith, because you see this. You've been working with me for a long time. And so, you've seen many, many things come through your clinic and through your watchful eyes. And so I appreciate that. And all the things that we do together, it's only going to get better because we're going to save the world. We know the answer. It's drop dead, unimpeachable, and let's go get them.